Hello and welcome to my tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to get the CSGO AGR into Unreal Engine. I will be showing you how to get the POV Cam, the animations, the POV models such as the hands and the arms and those animations. I will also be showing you how to get the POV weapons and animations. And I will also show you how to get the enemy models, the enemy animations, and the enemy weapon animations. So basically, pretty much everything. Before we continue, I highly recommend you watching my other tutorial on importing a CSGO demo into Blender for 3D movies. The reason is because you will need to have the same AGR recording settings as me in order for you to follow this tutorial to get the AGR into Unreal Engine. It will also show you what software you will need as well as all the add-ons and how to set them up. Something I forgot to mention in that video is that you will need to change the Blender FPS settings to 30 FPS. This will prevent you from getting an FPS warning / error in the console. It will also prevent you from getting any sort of animation issues in Unreal. In addition to this, it will reduce your import time. I would also recommend before importing your AGR into Blender, I would use the normal AGR and not the enhanced like shown in the video. If you're trying to get your AGR into Unreal Engine, there is no point applying the textures in Blender, and therefore you'll just have longer importing times. So once you have finished watching that video, come back and I will see you in this one. Before we get started, this is what our footage looks like. And we're going to try and get this out of Blender and into Unreal Engine. Make sure all your add-ons and your 3D software is up to date. Okay, so once you have imported or opened up your AGR, of course make sure to give it a save. The first thing we are going to do is check our AGR and essentially prepare it for exporting. The first thing we are going to do is come to our collections. I'm going to drag this down and we're going to scroll down until we find our AFX cam, which is this one. This is essentially the POV camera. Click on it. What we're going to do is we're going to click on this green camera. Now what this does is when we give it a click, it's going to make it the active camera. So when we click on toggle camera view, it's going to zoom in to the POV camera. If you do not do this, it will already be set to a different camera and you'll have the wrong camera view. Now to clean this look up, what we have in front of us is a whole bunch of cameras, which we don't actually need. So we have camera 1 to camera 18. We're going to hold down a shift, left click, that's going to select everything in between and the camera you've clicked on. And we're going to click on delete. Now all we are left with is our POV camera. Next, we're going to want to sort out our timeline down here. Now the reason why is because when you start recording your AGR, unless you click play immediately, it's going to record when you haven't clicked play. So if you haven't clicked play, obviously the recording isn't playing, everything is going to be frozen. So if we move this forwards, as you can see, nothing is happening in the viewport. And this is because we've recorded without playing. Now obviously I clicked play eventually and that's what we're going to find. That's going to be the beginning of our demo. So we essentially want to find the first frame that isn't moving, that is also next to our moving frame, which is right here. We just missed it. So 317 is not moving, 318 is not moving, but 319 is. So the beginning is going to be 318. So we're going to come up to here where it says start. type in 318. We also want to do this for the end. So as you can see, nothing is moving from here. We scroll back down. We want to find it until we are moving again. Exactly the same as what we've done for the beginning, which is around here somewhere. I'm going to use the arrow keys to move up and down slowly, as dragging the timeline is quite laggy. So we got some movement here. Here we go. So our moving frame is 890, which means our beginning is 891. So we'll go to end, put in 891. All done. Now, why do we need to do this? Well, if we were to export the animations and we had our start at 0 and our end at like 1000, as we export the animations, it's going to take all that animation data and bring it into Unreal Engine. So essentially, the first about 350 frames, there's going to be no movement. So we might as well just cut that out here in Blender so we don't have to mess around with it in Unreal Engine. Next, we need to bring our timeline to the beginning. So what we're going to do is in this box here, we're going to copy our starting frame, which is 318. Now this is also very important. If you have your timeline, say at 600, about halfway through your animation, if we export it whilst our timeline is halfway through our animation, there is a good chance they will also only get half an animation on the export. We always want to make sure that our timeline is at the beginning of our animation. Next, we're going to test our footage to see that everything is working. So if we click play, depending on your AGR, it's going to be quite laggy. The bigger it is, the laggier it's going to be. So as you can see, it's pretty much working. I would also just give it a scroll all the way through just to get a rough idea that everything is there, which it appears to be. We're also going to do the same with the AGR. Let's give it a move. And it all looks to be working. Awesome. Of course, set this back to the beginning so we have no issues. I'm also going to give this a quick save. Next up, we need to do a bit of spring cleaning. As you can see, we have 147 animations and I guess models. We're not going to export all of this. This would take way too long. And to be frank, we don't really need all of that. So the first thing we can do is, if you go to your origin point, you have a whole bunch of arms, weapons, and animations in the middle. As far as I'm aware, all of this is animations that were not used in that recording of the round and therefore not needed. So we can just select these all and we can delete them. As you can see, these are all view models or the POV, and we can tell this from the V before. V is standing for view and W will stand for world. So it's safe to delete these. So that's exactly what we're going to do. As you can see, that has gotten rid of quite a lot, but there's still more we can do. In my clip, I know I don't need any of my allies because I watched through it and they are never in shot. So I can safely delete all my alloys. So these will be all the CTMs. So we've got CTM here. And as we go through, we're going to use Control and left click to individually select parts. So all the CTMs can be deleted. And we're just going to have to scroll through it and find out. Okay, so I'll scroll through it. I couldn't find any more apart from the ones at the beginning, so it's safe to delete those. Now we have some gigantic models, which is fine. If you scroll down to the bottom, we're going to left click, hold down shift, left click the bottom of the pile, and click delete. On top of that, we have the weapon animations that they had. They have not been deleted. Now, how do we know what they are? Well, really, it's just about looking and seeing what they had and their general location. So, for example, these are the animations of one of our teammates. If we scroll through, he's moving and he's just not a part of any of the action. He's just chilling there, watching the window. So it's safe to say we can delete these. So we're going to highlight them. I'd also recommend double checking that you've highlighted everything correctly so that we don't delete anything that we need by accident. So we've got W pistol, which is fine. These are all world stuffs. We want to make sure there's no V. If there's any V stuff in there, we might have highlighted something incorrectly. So it's all W. So it's relatively safe to say that those animations belong to our teammates. You could also, before deleting your teammates, just select that whole area and delete stuff. For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to try and explain stuff the best that I can so that you guys can do this by yourselves. Now, as you can see here, I selected these two and we've got a few V's in here. Now, what that means is that our character could have gone over there and we might essentially be deleting animations that we need. We need to be very careful with what we select. So this looks like teammate, it's all W's. So that is safe to delete. And we've also got this over here, which does have a V. Now there are some arms here. He's holding an M4A1. And you've also got the glove and the sleeve, which is like the POV. And I think there's a flashbang and stuff as well. Now I know in my footage that I don't use an M4A1. So it's safe to say we can delete the associated gloves, sleeves and weapon, as well as all the W, as there used to be a teammate there. If you're not too sure where to go to next, I recommend just playing around with the viewport and just taking a look, see what happens. If you notice down here, he's just been running back and forth this whole time. Quite frankly, does not get into the action. So it's safe to say we can delete him. So I'm going to delete all his associated animations. I'm just going to double check there's no V's, which there isn't, and we can delete him. Again, bring this back to the beginning. And you see there's a skeleton here. What's this? We've got a V glove, V sleeve, a world smoke. Now if you're not sure, we'll just scroll through. Do our gloves ever get here? No, they don't. They never come to use that animation. So we know this was used earlier and it's not in our recording. On top of that, the whole thing disappears, which means it's probably associated with the character we just deleted. Again, safe to delete. Also got some random arms and pistol over here. Again, scroll through, they disappear. So again, it's not being used, it's safe to be deleted. And essentially, guys, you just want to do this whole process. What you don't want to delete, you don't want to delete anyone that's in frame. You also don't want to delete anyone, any of the characters, weapons or animations that they are associated with, unless you don't want them, of course. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my POV animations and camera, and I'm just going to see who gets shot, who dies. So he dies, someone to the left dies, someone at the top dies, and someone at the top dies as well. And I believe that's it. As you see, there's someone walking around. Can't quite find him, and it's the end of the clip. So, anyone who is not dead can be removed as they're not going to be in the shot anyway. If they do walk onto the shot, you might want to consider if you want to delete them or not. But for me, I'm going to delete him. He doesn't die. Basically just not wanted. So I'm going to highlight him. I'm going to bring it all the way back to the middle, to the beginning, sorry. So 318. And here we go. It's safe to say that is all the animations that is associated with him. Now you can watch him and see if he changes. There might be quite a few there. However, it seems like he runs down. And actually, if you look, we have accidentally selected a wrong skeleton for someone. So as you can see, this guy, who is our main guy, is over here, and we've got a skeleton that's been selected here. And as you can see, if we go back, he actually takes that skeleton. So we actually have an incorrectly selected skeleton, which is not good, because that's going to contain some of our weapon data that we will need. So again, just be very careful with what you select. I'm just going to scroll through and see. So he is definitely linked to that one. As you can see, we'll just follow him. He jumps, drops the gun, or switches gun, and now he comes up here and doesn't do anything. So it's safe to say we can delete that skeleton and this skeleton here. Okay. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to go towards the end of the clip. Where's he gone to? He's disappeared? There he is. He's all the way over there. Perfect. So we're going to select this skeleton and this skeleton, which is, as we scroll through, you can see he's associated with it. And therefore, they're his animations. We're just going to delete everything we have selected. We'll also scroll through it. As you can see, you have a bomb who's walking around by himself, but that's completely fine. Okay. Also, if you look in the middle, we have some arm animation. Anything that's in the middle is not needed. So just delete it. It's safe to delete. Okay, so that's pretty much everything. It depends how clean you want to make it. However, I think this is pretty clean. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to export the animations for our enemy characters. So the first animations we're going to copy is going to be the movement of characters. Now this is very simple to do. You're going to find a character, which can be found in the collections. We're going to do AFX3TM Elite Variant G first. We're just going to click on him. We're going to come down here. We're going to click on Object Properties. And I'm going to Control C to copy the name. And then we're going to name him Root. If you do not name your character models, your weapon models, your character animations, and your weapon animations root, you will get this error in Unreal Engine. With him still selected, we're going to go to File, Export, FBX. Now we want to create a folder. I'm just going to put it on our desktop. I'm going to name it YouTube animations and models for Unreal Engine. We're going to open up that folder. I'm going to name one animations and I'm going to name one models. I'm going to open up the animations folder. The first setting we want is limited to selected objects. If we do not click this, it's going to export all the animations of everybody else that's in the viewport. We want to limit the export to selected objects. Next, we'll go down. We'll come down to baked animations. We want to untick NLA strips, untick all actions, and we don't want any simplification of the animations. So we're going to make this 0. Once you have done that, we'll go to the naming of our character. Control V or paste to get the name of the character. Now, the way I like to name stuff, I'm going to keep the number. The number is going to represent the order of the animations. With the characters, it's not too important, but with the weapon animations, it's going to be super important, so you know which order they need to go into. It's also super important to have the character name. So TM is going to be our terrorist, lead, and which variant of the model it is. If you don't care about the model, then that's completely fine. Name them however you want. However, if you want it to match the footage, you want to keep the name. I also put in animation at the end and just click around here somewhere and it will do .fbx for you. Of course, come up to Window, toggle System Console, just to make sure everything will be okay. Next, we click Export. Once your export has finished, you can come down to your root and delete. Again, delete the model associated with it. Now you want to repeat this process for all the enemy characters. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to export the AFX cam or the POV cam and its animations. So we're going to click on AFX cam. You don't need to name this root or anything. You just go to File, Export FBX. I'm just going to name this POV cam. You can keep the default name if you want to. Make sure the settings are on limited to selected objects. NLA strips has been turned off, all actions turned off, and simplify is on 0. Next, export it as FBX. Okay, so next we're going to export the animations for the gloves as well as the sleeves. This is relatively simple. What we're going to need to do is zoom into our AFX cam which is down here. Now, as you can see, we have the AWP, some sort of skeleton, and we also have the gloves and the sleeve. Luckily, we don't have to try and sort this out. If we go to our collections, and if you have managed to delete everything as neatly as possible, there will be one glove and one sleeve animation. So scrolling up, we've got v_glove_slick, and we've also got v_sleeve. And as you can see at the timeline, it contains all the animation data. If you have multiple of these, all you can really do is try clicking around and finding the skeleton for it. So the biggest one I clicked on, this is the AWP one. The reason why I know this is just because I've done it before, but also if you look at the collections, we have v_AWP. So we know that's not it. So you'll literally just have to keep on clicking around until you find it. But ideally, you should only have one. But as you can see, I found one of them. I found the gloves, and the sleeves will be there too. You can temporarily delete stuff to try and find it. But we have it here, so let's not mess about. Let's get this over and done with. Make sure your timeline is at the beginning. We've got the glove, Control C. Again, we're going to name it root. File, export, FBX. I'm going to keep it as this. I'm going to delete AFX. It's going to be the V glove, and it's going to be the animation. Okay. Make sure selected object X has been selected again. Baked animations, NLA shifts, all actions off. Simplify to 0. And we're going to export. Next, we're going to give this the name back so that it goes back to its order. And we're going to go to sleeve, do exactly the same. Control C to copy, name it root, and export. Again, give it the name it needs. Make sure all the settings are good. Your export has done. Give it the original name back. The reason why I'm giving the name back is just to stop me from opening and reopening Blender, and to hopefully give you guys a better understanding of what's going on. Once you guys know what to do, you can delete stuff as you go. Next, we're going to do the POV weapon animations. Okay, so this is where it's going to get a little bit more complicated. If we click on this skeleton here, this is our first sniper animation. As you can see, it starts from 0 all the way up to, God knows, 550 or something. The other way I know it's the first POV animation for the orb is this because it's the first one in the list. Thankfully, it's done in chronological order. So, just for explanation, we're going to follow this around. So I'm going to drag this up and we're just going to follow it and watch what happens to our skeleton and our selection. So it's coming towards the end of our animation and watch. So he turns around. The skeleton is now staying somewhere else. It's just floating like these other ones. As he turns around, he picked up another orb, and as you can see, my selection doesn't move. So this is a different skeleton that is now being used. What happens is the AGR recording makes a new skeleton every time a new animation comes out. So for example, the reason why this skeleton is new is because if we go back to where the animation changes roughly, we can actually see there's another animation. And this is actually where he gets the butterfly knife out. And this is what ends up making separate skeletons. If you have an AWPer that gets 4 kills and he never switches to his knife, you'll just have one animation and it'll just be the first AWP animation. However, because this guy likes flicking his knife out as he gets kills and stuff, now this does happen quite a lot. However, I'm going to show you guys how we're going to go about it. So how do we know which animations we need? Well, we're simply just going to have to go through the whole thing. What is helpful is because it's all done in order and it tells you which animation is associated to what. So V is for our POV view. We can scroll down until we find another V animation. So we're going to ignore the gloves. We've done the gloves already. We're going to keep on scrolling until we find our next one, which is the butterfly knife. And we know that it is correct because it has been selected. And as he's brought out his butterfly knife, as you see, the butterfly skeleton has been selected. Next, he's got the AWP. We're going to select the AWP one. As you can see, the animation timeline keeps getting longer and longer and longer. What you're going to do is select them all in order and then export them individually. So I'm going to go to knife. I'm going to get this AWP here. Going to select this knife and this AWP. So as you can see, if I unselect the AWP, it doesn't go up until all the way up until the end of the timeline. So it's totally up to you. It depends on your clip if you need the last animations or not. However, for the tutorial's sake, I'm going to do all of them. let's start exporting. We're going to go to the first ARP animation. Make sure we're starting at 318 or the start of your clip. We're then going to Control C, name it root, go to File, Export FBX. We're then going to Control V. Now, the numbers are going to be super important. It's called 15, and we're going to name it Animation and FBX. So the reason why I recommend you keep the numbers is this is going to tell you which animation you need to put first, second, third, fourth. The numbers here do not matter as they're all one complete animation. However, these ones do. So again, with the same options, selected objects, baked animations, animations, no actions, simplifies on 0, and export. So once that is done, you can delete it. Now you're going to want to do this for all the animations. So I'm going to do it one by one. It's really as simple as looking at your collections, going down in order. So you'll have one view, then go to your second view, check that it's a part of your AFX camera animation. If it's not in shot, that's not an animation that you want. And then you're just going to go through until you get to the end of your timeline. Okay, so once that's always done, we can delete the AFX cam if you want to, and the gloves. So I'm actually going to delete the gloves. There shouldn't be anything for V to do now. All the POV stuff is done. All we've got left is W. Now there is this V, however we know this was before our footage, so that's fine. We can also just delete that. Okay, so next, what we're going to do is we're going to do exactly the same as we've done for the weapon, POV weapon animations, but now for the enemy. Now, because this tutorial is obviously going to be absolutely ridiculously long, I'm just going to show you guys one. However, it works exactly the same. It's exactly the same for exporting them from Blender and the same for importing them and setting them up as the POV weapon animations. So the one I'm going to show you guys is going to be down here. So I'm just going to scroll through this, and I think I might have gone past it already actually. Is it here? Here it is. So there's a guy that jumps down here. Now the reason why I'm choosing him is just because all the rest are very difficult to see. When a different animation comes out from a different weapon, such as like a flashbang, it could just be AK to AWP, whatever. The animation is split just like the POV. However, say this guy uses the AK multiple times. When he does use the AK, it keeps the animation skeleton exactly the same. Now, what I mean by this is when we had the AWP, every time he switched to his knife and then got the AWP out again, it was a completely different skeleton. However, with the enemies, it seems to be the case that once they bring out a certain weapon, even if they switch to something else, so as you can see, this guy switches to his knife by the looks of it. I can't really get close enough. Give me 1 second. Whoop. Here we go. So I don't know if you can see, but he has his knife out currently. And as he continues down the stairs, eventually he pulls out the AK. And as you can see, the skeleton is actually exactly the same. Because it's still highlighted. So if we scroll back to before, when he had his AK, again, exactly the same. And as you can see, if we look here, the skeleton stays the same. So this is the first AK animation. This is the AK animation afterwards. It doesn't select a new one. And it doesn't unselect the one I currently have. So this makes things a lot simpler. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to essentially follow the skeleton around to get all this person's animation. Okay, so if we actually have a look from the beginning, his first animation is the karambit. So he has a karambit for a while, and he moves into this skeleton, which is the frag grenade skeleton. We're going to select the AK animation. Let's export this animation. So we'll go to 318. With that animation selected, we're going to copy the name, Control C, name it root, file, export, and just do exactly the same. Now I know in this tutorial I had deleted the models before. Unfortunately, when I'm explaining this, I can't exactly show you the workflow as I'm explaining it because there'll just be too much stuff going on. But I recommend you guys keep the models so that when you are exporting these animations, you know which animations are going to which model. So an example that I'll give, so I'll have 1119. Obviously you'll want to start from the beginning or from when they get into shots. That will be your first animation. But in order to know which animation you need to be linking it to, which model, the model will tell you, of course, it will have the name. So you'd copy the name. So for example, if this animation was with Leet, you'd name it Leet. Variant A, variant G, and then like animation. So if that makes sense, so you'll have the number which will indicate where the animation needs to go, which character model and skeleton it needs to attach to, which will actually be the AK. However, you know it will need to go onto the Elite Variant G model, and we know it's an animation. And we know it's a weapon animation because it has the V animation. Export it with the same ones. Now, if you do not want to do the world animations, it's totally up to you. You don't have to do it like that. However, the only other way I know you can do it is through parenting. However, that seems like more of a pain in the ass. So I just decided to show you guys this way. Feel free to do it the parenting way if you know how to do it. Okay, so the next part we're going to be getting all the models that we require. Something I want to say before, just a quick note. I will guide you on how to do the models. However, if you are always unsure, you can open up the character model / animation and it will tell you everything that you need to know. So for this TM Elite Variant A, for the animation, it's linked with the TM Elite Variant A model and the V_T_ base fingerless glove. So if you're ever unsure about which models you need, you can always go back to your Blender file and check. You can close down Blender, restart it into a new project. I'm going to select all and delete everything. Delete the collection as well, might as well. Now, I recommend you guys get the folder up that you've just imported all your animations into. So for me, it's here. The reason why we're doing this is we're going to need models for all these animations. Which is, we're going to need exactly what models for what animations. So, I'm going to start from the top of my list. And we're going to go through it all. Okay, so let's start. First we need is TM Elite Variant G model. So, we'll go to File, Import, and we need Source Engine SMD TTA DMT. Now you're going to need to go to your Models and Animations folder. So for me, That'll be in my Blender, resources, weapons and character models. So we're going to open up CSGO, models, and we're going to go to player. We're going to scroll down to custom player and legacy. This is where the most up-to-date models are. Now, I've already forgotten which one I need. It is Elite Variant G. So we'll scroll down till we find Elite Variant G. Here we go. We're going to open it and we're going to click on the SMD TM Elite and the gloves. That's all we need. Make sure to use Control to select the other one whilst you're left clicking. We're going to untick import animations and create collections. And we're going to import. Okay, so he's popped right in. As you can see, he's got his gloves and everything that he needs. Textures we're going to ignore. That's something you would do in Unreal Engine. So we're going to Control C, copy the name, and we're going to name him Root. Again, if you don't name him Root, you're going to get a root error in Unreal Engine. We're going to export him as FBX, and we're going to find that folder that has our animations and where we want to store our models. So models, Control V, Variant G skeleton, and I'll just call it skeleton and model really. We're going to go to ushers, click on limited to selected objects. We're also going to come down to baked animations and we're just going to turn all animations off. Once that is done, we're going to export FBX. Once he has been exported, we can delete him, and now we need to do this for every single character model. Okay, so once you have done all the character models, we're now going to do the weapons. So, first weapon we need is an AWP. So we'll go to File, Import, Source Engine. We're going to go back until we find weapons. And we're going to scroll down till we find V underscore AWP. We want V because that's for the view model. That's the view model animation. So we've got V underscore sniper and we want the SMD. Again, same settings, import. Okay, so it has been imported again. Control C, name it root. File, export. FBX. Also name it model if you would like. Export it with the same settings, selected objects, baked animations. No baked animations. Next, we're going to skip V glove and V sleeve for the moment, and we're just going to continue to do the other V's. So we've got V butterfly knife. So file, import, source engine. Completely missed it. V underscore butterfly knife. SMD. Import the SMD. Again, Control C for the name. Name it root. File, export. FBX. And Control paste, model, same settings, export it. Something I'm going to change real quick. In the models, I noticed that the knife automatically comes as V underscore knife. With the AWP, it hasn't. So I'm going to give it a V underscore. So we know that it's for the view model and not the world model. Go back to the animations. Now we don't need multiple models for the different animations. So we've got like 3 or 4 AWP animations. We only need 1 model. We don't need 4. It's completely fine. We don't need any model for the POV Cam. So all we're left with is we've got the V gloves, V sleeves, and the world AK animation. So let's do the V glove first. We'll go to File, Import, Source Engine. Now the gloves are in Weapons, and if we scroll down, we will find a folder called V Models. I'm going to click on Arms. I'm just going to double check which one it was. So it's Glove Slick. So Glove Slick. Again, V underscore Glove Slick. And we're just going to take the SMD. Come back, Control C for the name. Name it root. Export FBX. Give it model, same settings, selected objects. Take animations. We're going to delete that. Next we want sleeve ST6V2. So we'll go to File, Import, Source Engine. And we'll find the ST6. So I'm not entirely sure what variant I need. If you're concerned, you can go back to your AGR and check. However, I'm just going to take one of these V2s and I'm going to import the SMD. Control C, root. Same settings. And for our last one, we want the World Rifle AK-47. So if you have multiple of these animations that include the AK, you do not need multiple AK models. One will do perfectly fine. That's the same for all the other world ones too. So let's find where this AK is. We'll go to import. We're going to go back to the weapons and we're going to scroll down. We don't want any of the V's because these are for Viewport. Now we want the World AK. So I'm going to continue scrolling until I see a rifle. And we want AK-47. Now we're going to take the SMD and the Mac.SMD. Import it. Control C and name it root. File export FBX. Bish bosh bash model. Once you have done that, we can now finally move on to Unreal Engine. I've just made an empty project. Now, if you guys already have your Unreal Engine map, I would recommend loading that up. If you don't know how to get your maps into Unreal Engine, I have a video tutorial on how to do this. Once you have got your map into Unreal Engine and you have saved your project, you'll want to follow this whole tutorial to get all your models and animations into Unreal Engine. Once you have finished your tutorial, in order to get your models into the correct place on your map, you'll want to grab an empty actor, drop it into the scene. You can then reset the location of the empty actor by clicking on this button. Next, you'll want to find all your models and AFX cam. Select them as necessary, control left click. Once they are all selected, left click drag to attach to your actor. Next, you want to make sure your location has been reset, which is fine for mine. Next, you'll want to go to your sequencer and see where your characters are running about. So here are mine. And as you can see, they're not facing the right way, they're jumping through walls and stuff. So if we quickly pause this, what we need to do is we need to rotate our actor on the Z axis. So normally it's 180, but it's not always the case. For example, this one I'll need to rotate by 90 degrees. We shall click play. And as you can see, they are now all in the correct position. Perfect. And this is what it will look like from the POV camera. As you can see, all characters are running around where they should be, including the camera. The only reason why I haven't put my map into the tutorial is because I will be able to show you guys stuff easier without having to navigate the map. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just quickly delete all this stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is make folders. So I'm going to make one folder. It's going to be called characters. I'm going to open that folder, make a new folder and call it animations. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up a sequencer. So add level sequencer, save it, call it whatever you want. And I'm going to throw in our AFX camera. So in order to do that, we're going to go to actions, import. We're going to find where our animations are. For me, it'll be in the desktop. I'm going to select POV Cam, click open, leave it as default settings and import. Now I'm going to stretch this out to about 2000 or so. Going to expand our view. And I'm just going to open this up. And we're just going to click on play and see if it works. So I know it's going to start about here. I'm just going to drag it. We're going to click play and have a look. So as you can see, we are moving around. We've also got the zooms and everything looks okay. However, we don't have any arms and any weapon. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to import our models. So in characters, I'm actually going to make a new folder and just call it models. Just because I think it'll be a bit neater. Going to open it up. And all we're going to do is drag our models in. So go to your folder where your models are. And we're going to drag all of these in. So I'm going to select them all, drag and drop them into our content browser. In terms of our settings, we want to make sure there's no skeleton selected, make sure it's on none. For some reason there is a skeleton, which there shouldn't be. You can just click reset to default by clicking this yellow arrow. It will obviously be down here somewhere. We want to make sure import animations is not ticked. Once we have done that, we can click import all and that will use the same settings. So once that is done, you might experience this. This is normal. We can just ignore this. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to get our animations. Now I recommend you do this one by one. So let's start off with the characters. So let's get the characters in. So first we're going to do Leet. Now the reason why I named everything so specifically is so that we know which animation we're dropping in and which associated model we need. So we've named ours TM Leet Variant G. So we're going to find the one called TM Leet variant G, which is here. We're going to click on that. And we're going to leave it with default settings and click on import. Once that is done, we're going to match all our animations to our models. So we're going to do variant A. We want TM Leap variant A, which is this skeleton, TM Leap variant A, import. We want Balakan variant G, import. We want TM Leap variant C, import. We're going to do the same with the gloves, so we're going to drag and drop that in. We're going to find the V glove slick, import it. And we're going to do the same with the sleeve. Link it to the sleeve and model and skeleton. Import it. Now we're going to leave the weapons at the moment and we're going to see if our character animations and our glove animations work. So let's get our sequencer out. We want to make sure our sequencer is at the beginning. So we're going to knock it back to 0 by doing so up there. The first thing I'm going to do is put in all our character models. So we want TM Balaklan. We want our variant A, variant C, and our variant G. Drag and drop them in. We're also going to throw in our glove. We're also going to throw in our sleeve. Make sure the ones you are dragging in are the skeletal mesh. They are the ones with the purple color underneath. Okay, feel free to rearrange these as you want to. Now, we've got our models in, but there is no animations. If we click play, they're just going to be sitting there. Now you might think, oh, it's because, our cam doesn't start until here. So let's drag that along and see what happens. So our cam is moving, but our models, they're just sitting there. In fact, they're looking away now. So that's no good. All we need to do now is actually apply the animations. So TM Balakan variant G skeleton, we know has one animation. And if we've linked it correctly, it will come up with the associated animation. TM Balakan variant animation G. What we could do is now go through every single one and apply the correct animation. Make sure again it's at 0, otherwise your animation will be imported in the wrong area and will be out of sync. Okay, so all of our animations are now in place, and as you can see, they look like they've shrunk and they're in position. So let's click play and see what happens. Okay, so our arms are moving, everyone else is moving, but the cam is not moving. So if you have this issue, this basically means the camera is out of sync. So the easiest way to fix this is if we go back to 0 and we're going to left click, drag, highlight everything. We're going to move it until it's roughly at the beginning. Okay, so that looks about correct, right? So let's play it and see what happens. Oh, what's going on there? Now, it looks like it's in sync, but it's sort of cutting out. It looks a bit weird. It's jumping around everywhere. So the first thing we want to do is actually double check and see. Why is this not stopping? Stop. Yo, dude. Yo, dude, stop. Okay, it's finally stopped. What we want to do is actually see if the cam is in position. So what we can do is we can grab this box here, shrink it down, and as you can see, it's actually not in place. So if we look, we want this white line here. Let's move this out of the way. This white line here to be in line with this line up here. So all we need to do is drag this again, shrink it down, and just move it until it's in line. So that is in line now. Now if we expand that and we play it, let's see how it looks. Okay, so everything is in sync, but we do have some other issues. We have clipping, and we also have our hands are just popping in and out. Now, the first thing we want to do, I'm just going to move this back here and have it in line with the end of the animations, okay? Don't forget to save your project, guys. Okay, so let's solve these two issues. Let's solve the disappearing sort of gloves and hands, and towards our camera. Let's also solve this issue of our gloves just completely disappearing. So let's do the gloves first. What we're going to want to do is let's just scroll back until our gloves are back. We're going to click on our gloves. And let's just scroll to a place where they do disappear. I think it was like frame 77 or so, which was good. 79. Perfect. As you see, they've disappeared. Now, with the gloves selected, we're going to come to this search bar and just type in scale. And we're going to come down to rendering, and it's called bound scale. Basically, what we want to do is we're just going to increase it. I would recommend increasing it slowly and seeing when it comes out. So what you want to do is increase the number slowly up until the point where you can always see your gloves, but also so that you're maximizing your performance and the quality of your shadows. But I'm just going to increase it to 2. Now you can see we've got floating gloves and it doesn't look like it's worked. All we need to do is just go back to the timeline, and I think we're on frame 77, which is here, and now the gloves are here. So if we were to just scrub through, the gloves always remain there. Okay, so to fix the second problem, this is what the second problem looks like. It's basically where it's like cutting out where the hands are, but from the other side, so like from where the camera is. And this is just caused by near clipping. The easiest way to fix this is you can go to Edit, Project Settings. We're going to scroll down till you find Engine, General Settings, and then you'll scroll down to find Near Clip Plane. You want to reduce this to 1 and then click Enter. However, you will need to restart Unreal Engine once changing this. What you can do instead is whatever your command button is, we're going to click that. So for me, it's the one that's above tab. And as you can see by clicking it, this pops up down here. We're going to click on the box, type in r.set, and you've got near clip plane. Click on that, click on the end, give it a space and click 1, and then hit enter. As you can see, it's done it without restarting or needing to restart, and it's completely solved our issue of clipping. And let's just give it a quick scroll through, and it looks good. So let's play this from the beginning, and see how it is. Alright, perfect. It's looking pretty goddamn good. There's no cutting out, there's nothing. Next, we're going to look at getting our POV weapon and animations in. Okay, so we've already imported all the models that we need. So we've got our butterfly knife and we've got our orb. Next, we're going to import the animations for our POV. Now, we're going to do all the view ones. So we'll start from the beginning and we're going to attach them to the correct skeleton. So we've got V_sniper. So we want to attach this to our AWP skeleton, which is the V AWP one. Make sure you don't put it on the W AWP skeleton. Next, import. And we're going to do this for all our animations. So next we've got the knife. Drag the knife in. Make sure you get the butterfly knife, import it. So instead of doing this one by one, I'm just going to select them, select all the snipers, drag them in, give them the AWP skeleton and import all. I'm also going to do exactly the same for the butterfly knife. So we've already done this one, we want this one and this one. Import all. Perfect. Now we have all of our POV animations and models imported. Next, we're going to open up our sequencer and we're going to throw in the animations in order. So what we're going to need to do is find out which animation comes first. So we're going to get our folder and we have the first one is number 15 V sniper. Then it'll be 124 the knife and it's going to rotate like so. So for every animation that we have, we're going to need a separate model. So in order to do this, we are going to count how many AWPs we need and how many knives we need. So AWP, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we need 4 AWPs and 3 butterfly knives. So we're going to drag 1 AWP and I'm going to try and keep it in order. So I'm going to drag this down, move it here, drag this up. I won't just go up. There we go. So it goes, if you want to do the exact same order, it goes 1 AWP, 1 butterfly knife. Then it goes 1 AWP, which has gone all the way up there for some reason. Then another butterfly knife. And it goes 1 AWP. And it's gone all the way up here for some reason. Keep on dragging it down. Then there's 1 more butterfly knife. Alright, erste. So that's the last butterfly knife. And the last AWP. So this is the exact animation order. You do not have to do it this way, however I find it easier. So if I wanted to say I know that this animation is going to play first and this animation is going to play second, this animation will play third, this animation will play fourth, etc, etc. This makes it a bit easier. Now we need to apply the animation just like we did before. Make sure we're at 0. So we go to animation on our first ARP model and we want the lowest number. So we want number 15 first. Then we go to butterfly knife. We want number 124. Second ARP, we want 125. Then butterfly 137. We want 125, 138. And 141 for butterfly knife. And 142. Now, let's see if this has worked for us. And let's see how this goes. God damn. If that ain't smooth, then I don't know what is. So as you can so you might have noticed that there are like weapons flying around and stuff like this. All you have to do is keyframe the visibility for when it comes in and out of shots. Okay, so there is one last thing we have to do. And that is we have to give our weapons and animations to our enemy character. So what I'm going to do is, we've already imported the View AK, the model. We just need to import the animation for it now. So we're going to find it. It's right here. Going to import it. And we want to make sure it imports to the AK skeleton, not the character model. Okay. Click on import. And it's done. Next, we're going to open up this sequencer. We are going to drag in the AK model, like so. And we're going to give it the animation that we just linked. As you see, the AK has disappeared. So if we come out of the AFK perspective, the cam perspective, and let's give our tracker play. Now I know exactly which model is going to have it. It's going to be him. As you can see, he's picked it up. He's running down. Bang! He dies. And just like the POV, what you'll do is you'll just label them in order, import them as we have just done, put them in order how you feel, and it will all be synced up, just like the POV. And this is the final product that we got. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know this is going to be super long, I have no idea, but I literally showed you guys everything. If you do have any issues, feel free to join my Discord. The link will be in the description. Feel free to follow me on Twitter as well. Leave a like, share with your mates.